Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is similar to one I've done in the past. In the past, I did the top 10 notes featuring George Washington. I was going through my comments and I saw that NFL 2254 fan 69 suggested a top 10 list featuring Abraham Lincoln. Well, what I decided to do was go with two lists. This particular list is going to be the top 10 small size notes featuring Abraham Lincoln, and I'll come up with another list for the rest of the bills. You'll probably be seeing that one fairly soon as well. So anyway, the top 10 small size notes featuring Abraham Lincoln. Number 10, probably a note in your pocket. The current $5 bill, of course, features Abraham Lincoln. This is the note that's been around since 1996, if I remember correctly. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Of course, you guys know the back. All you have to do is reach in your pocket and you're going to see Honest Abe. Number 10 on the list. Number 9, going back just a few years. Oh, well, apparently I was wrong about the dates because this one's 2003. This is known as the monochrome note. The monochrome note doesn't add these splashes of color that you see with our current notes. You can see the two side by side here. This is just the paper, the color of the paper, and black ink on there. It is the same portrait, but they did do away with the outline like that. The back, of course, is the same, and they just enlarged the 5 and added some color. So the monochrome $5 note, that is number 9 on the list. Number 8. Of course, we have to go with a small head. Small head $5 bill. This particular one's from 1995. 1995 small head note. Now, these are always exciting to find in circulation because the 5s are spent frequently. Because they're used as much as they are, it's harder to find these in circulation and pretty tough to find them in good condition as well. Now, you can check with your bank and see if they managed to pull any, but you are more likely to find small head 20s or 100s compared to finding small head 5s. Just because, like $1 bills get tore up pretty quick. The 5s as well aren't handled with as much care. For some reason, if you hand somebody a $100 bill, they go, oh, it's 100. And if you give them a 5 or a 1, they're like, whatever, and they just do whatever and roll it up in a ball and throw it in their pocket. So yeah, you don't see a whole lot of these left in circulation. So that is number 8 on my list, the small head $5 note. Number 7. This is from 1934D. 1934D $5 note. My particular one has 5 in a row and 6 of a kind, so I kind of like this one. But this one is a light green seal. If you look at that seal compared to this one, you can see the difference in color there. It is a lighter green seal. Now, this one also has the giant Federal Reserve seal. You can see that one over here as well, how much bigger that particular one is. So yeah, the different colors of green that you can find on the notes do make a difference. I've actually done a video showing 10 different colored seals. You can check that one as well just to see all the different colors that there are. But a $5 light green seal is number 7, 10987. Number 6. I went with a 1928 $5 bill, of course, featuring Lincoln. The 1928 is special that it has a numeral on this side for the Federal Reserve instead of using a letter. The numeral matches the 3s on this side and corresponds with the letter here, C being the 3rd letter. That's how that would come to be. Now, look at how dark green this one is compared to the other one, just to show you the difference in greens like that. Now, the 1928 is also considered a little different because of the obligation. People will call this a gold certificate, and they would be wrong. You can see on the top, it flat out says Federal Reserve note, but they always point out to the obligation that says redeemable in gold on demand at the United States Treasury or in gold or lawful money at any Federal Reserve Bank. So they go, see, it's a gold certificate. And to them, I just say, no, it's not. Because in 1928, we had $20 gold coins, we had $10 gold coins, we had, $5 gold coins, which means you could simply go to the bank, turn in your $5 bill, and get a $5 gold coin if they happen to have them in stock. So yeah, all money was redeemable in gold in 1928. This was not backed by gold, and being backed by gold is what makes it a gold certificate or a silver certificate. Silver certificates were backed by silver, gold certificates were backed by gold. Federal Reserve notes are backed by the basic goodwill and faith of the U.S. government. So as long as you have faith in the U.S. government, our money is good. That is 10987. That was number 6. Number 5. Well, I mentioned them just before. Here is a $5 silver certificate. The $5 silver certificate, you got the blue seals like this, of course, features Abraham Lincoln. And this is one of my favorite ones because you have the giant blue numeral. The 1934 series is the series that incorporated that big blue numeral. You can get this on the 5 and on the 10 as well. They're just, to me, that is what makes this particular note stand out. They didn't change the back at all. There is no "In God We Trust," so technically this is still constitutional. But the blue numeral is what always gets me. So if you get one of these that's in decent shape, like this one's in pretty good shape. You get the white background, you get the blue like that. I'm always impressed by these. That is number 5 on my list for small notes featuring Lincoln. Number 4. This is a national currency. National currency, this is from 1929. This particular one is a national banknote. Now, being a national banknote, this particular one, there was actually close to 15,000 different issuing national banks. This one's from the First National Bank of Milwaukee, and you can see its charter number right here is 64. Now, I lumped all the national currencies into one, okay? This is a national currency note, and based on the serial number, it is a Type 1. There is also what is known as a Type 2, which will have the charter number next to the serial number, also in the reddish-brown ink here. And it'll also be over here. So if you've got what looks like an extremely long serial number, that's probably a Type 2. This is a Type 1. And the other type of national currency you're going to find, which I was surprised I didn't have one, at least of the $5 denomination, is the Federal Reserve Bank notes. Okay, Federal Reserve banks, well, you know there's 12 of those, 12 Federal Reserve banks, and they basically had the same backing power as the national banks did, whereas this particular $5 was backed by a deposit made by this particular bank. Federal Reserve banknotes were backed by the individual Federal Reserves. So there are 12 different types of Federal Reserve banknotes, one for each Federal Reserve. And I happen to have a 10 and a 20 and a 50 and a 100. I don't have a 5, so that's going to have to go on my wish list. I'm going to have to pick up a $5 Federal Reserve banknote. But they all have the national currency on the top. So when it comes to national currency, I do have one featuring Lincoln, of course. That is number 4 on the list. Number 3, going with a legal tender. 1928 $5 legal tender. Now, these are also known as United States notes. When you see United States notes and legal tender, they are one and the same. They are just 2 different names for the same thing. That and red seals. When you hear red seal, a red seal is a legal tender. A red seal is a United States note. Now, these have their value because there was a law passed saying that the United States government is allowed to put so much money into circulation. The passing of a law is the legal portion of legal tender. That law was withdrawn in 98. So if that law is no longer in effect, that means these are no longer legal tender, even though it's called a legal tender note. Now, people will go round and round and say, oh, no, the government will still honor it. Well, you know, I'm sure anybody would take one of these for $5. I know I will take every single one you have for $5, but technically it's not legal. Kind of like, technically if you walk out your front door and cross the street, that's not legal either because you're not in a crosswalk. That's jaywalking. So yeah, by law, this is not legal, but everybody will still spend them and everybody will still swear up and down that this is still good money. Anyway, legal tender note, that is number 3 on my list of small size notes featuring Abraham Lincoln. Number 2, going with a Hawaii note. Now, the Hawaii notes, this is a World War II emergency currency. The denomination that is the keynote for both the Hawaii and the North Africa is the $5 denomination. This is the key version. For some reason, they made plenty of ones and they made plenty of tens, but the hard one, of course, is the 5. They call that the keynote. This particular note was basically the forerunner to what are now MPCs, military payment certificates. This was designed to be used on military bases. If it was outside the base, probably wouldn't be any good. This one was specifically designed for Hawaii, knowing that Japan could easily invade, and well, they did attack. But if they were to actually invade the island, they wouldn't be getting spendable money. With a stroke of a pen, the government could just outlaw all these notes, and we would no longer be, or we wouldn't be accidentally funding an enemy's army. Taking a look at the back, it does say Hawaii in big letters on the back like that. Of course, no "In God We Trust," of course, being constitutional. It is interesting, though, because this particular note has Hawaii stamped all over it, as well as the United States of America. But Hawaii wasn't part of the United States in 1934. So that's just interesting to see a 1934 note. In fact, as most of you know, Hawaii was not a state until 1959, well after World War II. So here's emergency currency. So that says United States of America with Hawaii all over it, even though Hawaii wasn't a state. That is number 2 on my list. So what's number 1? Well, with an intro like that, I guess it's kind of obvious. This is the North Africa $5 note featuring Abraham Lincoln. This is one of my favorite notes, one of my favorite series, I should say, especially when it comes to small size notes. If you collect small size and only small size, complete this series. This is the North Africa $5 note. They made a 1, a 5, and a 10. Nowhere on this note does it say North Africa. The way you know it's North Africa is that bright yellow seal like that yellow or goldish seal, however you want to call it. Now, the yellow seal next to the blue numeral, especially on a clean note, is just such a cool thing to see. It's a stunning visual. Taking a look at the back. Now, I want to just count this. You've got the color of the paper, that's 1. You've got black ink, that's 2. You've got blue ink, that's 3. You've got the yellow ink, that's 4. And you've got the green ink, that's 5. You have a 5-colored note. Now, yeah, they didn't actually print a color for the background, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still there. So yeah, with all the different colors on this particular note, in good condition, this is a really, really sweet note to have. Whether you're putting together small size collections, whether you're putting together $5 notes, or whether you're putting together a set that just contains Abraham Lincoln, this is probably one of the sweetest notes you're going to have. Just make sure you get it in good condition so you can really appreciate those colors. All right, and that's what I've got for you this time, the top 10 small size notes that feature Abraham Lincoln. If you learned anything this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. I love reading your guys' comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.